Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Eden Wellness Alliance's next, well, welcome to this week's Eden Wellness Alliance's State of the Association address. We have our announcements coming up first, and then as normal, we have Q&A and different things like that going on afterward. So we have the live event pulled up right here. So if you're wanting to get engaged in that, just let me know. You can put yourself right in there and type in what you want to say. I'm going to put welcome to the event to get it started. So questions, comments, and observations go in the chat. Otherwise, let's get on to those, to any kind of events that are going on. So first off, I am part of the Eden Wellness Alliance attends a weekly business people's meeting in the Fort Smith area. It is called Creative Referral Network, or CRN, and it happens each Tuesday at 8 o'clock, located at the Sweet Bay Coffee across from right there by Creekmore Park and the main branch of the library in Fort Smith. It's on Rogers Avenue, right in the same place as Harbor Freight Tools, so not that hard to find. If you want to meet up there, you can. I mention it because we're planning on doing a kind of like a live event broadcast. You'll be able to find it on this channel, but also we'll be sharing it through the social medias to hopefully gin up some more attendance there and see what happens for this channel and their businesses. So it'll be a great thing to keep up with the events and stuff like that, and it will cut down on the ones that I have to announce here. So that's one event that's coming up. So you can attend that later on. You can keep up with us on it. It'll be a live broadcast of this upcoming meeting, so it will happen at the same time. It will happen at the same time here on this channel, and we will share the link to that on hopefully several other people's channels on Monday or Tuesday, other people's social media Monday or Tuesday. That having been said, on to the next event. We don't have a whole lot of events to announce this week. Let me see. School Time with Essential Oils. It is an invite-only class, so it is for online. It happens Sunday around 1 o'clock Mountain Time. If you would like to attend that, you can get with us. You can either get with myself. You can get with Jacqueline Spain on Facebook. She is also part of the one dealing with the oils, and it will be a great class to attend if you get the chance. It is invite only, so you gotta get with them and say, hey, I'm interested, I want to go to this. So I suggest you do that if essential oils for school and kids is something you're interested in. And that actually is the only thing coming up this week that I've been invited to or would like to share with you guys. There's some normal things that are going on, but we'll think about announcing other things in the community and stuff like that. If there is more interest in it, like if you guys want to know when farmer markets are, things like that, and where, we can think about doing that. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get into any questions or comments or observations that are going on. We have no questions yet, so I prepared for this. Last time we talked about how the Eden Wellness Alliance does a very, personal responsibility is important, and what we kind of do and things like that. This time we're going to kind of talk about the ideas of preventative healthcare versus reactive healthcare. Preventative healthcare is when you behave a certain way in your lifestyle to prevent illness, disease, or dysfunction in the system. While reactive healthcare is something more along the lines of, well, I get sick and therefore I need to take medicine or do something to change that, and then once that's over, I'm healthy again. That's not necessarily true. What we have here is kind of a differing approach to health. The Eden Wellness Alliance approaches health more to the preventative side. You want to prevent bad things. Most people have heard the saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and so on and so forth. That's true. If you want to prevent something, you can prevent something a lot easier than trying to fix the problem after it's already happened. Cancer is a big example. You can do things in your life to help prevent cancer rather than trying to recover from cancer after you get it. I mean, the mortality rate of cancer is crazy. Heart disease is something that kills more people than cancer. It's one of the biggest killers in the US, and yet it is a preventable disease. When you hear studies and things like that about them saying that more people die of preventable diseases than not, that's what they're talking about. Preventable causes than not. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about not just cancer, not just diabetes, which is also preventable, but heart disease, high blood pressure. High blood pressure can kill in some cases. It's not something that's super life-threatening, but it leads to other problems. And so you have these problematic situations that people get themselves into. It's because they have not addressed their health in a preventative way rather than and instead addressed it in a reactive way. Someone who's addressing it in a reactive way will look at that and say, well, I got cancer, so now I have to do this. Or now I need to take the chemotherapy and the drugs and this and that and this radiation and so on. So they address it as if getting the cancer was the starting point, when study after study has shown that it's not getting the cancer that started the dis-ease in the system. We're not talking about D-I-S-E-A-S-E. We're talking about dis-ease in the system. Because all illness, all dis-ease, the singular word, is caused by a dis-ease in the system. So we're not specifically addressing someone's particular dis-ease. When we're talking about this and we're seeing that people will address it from a reactive standpoint, think that's where it started, and be like, oh, well, now I got to do this, and they'll continue on in that path, and then the next thing will pop up, even if they recover from cancer, even if they recover from a heart attack or a stroke. You know, they'll think that's where the problem started. Doctors of both allopathic and naturopathic medicine, of holistic medicine, all agree that your problem wasn't when you got the cancer. Your problem was with how you were living to get the cancer. I mean, doctors from across the board can agree on this. Cancer is not caused just by magically getting it one day. It's your life choices up to that. People that smoke have a higher incidence of lung cancer. People that dip have many mouth cancers, multiple higher incidence of mouth cancer. It's just the way it is. If you're putting carcinogens in your system, you're putting free radicals in your system. And that problem, that continual dis-ease on the system leads to that other disease, leads to a illness, leads to a diagnosis, leads to a problem. And if we can get ourselves out of the mindset that we've fallen into in most Western cultures of the disease started when I got it, quote, quote, got it, we would find that our health would be multitudes better. Our health would be exponentially better if we decided to prevent it. We don't want the government infringing on our rights to say and have a choice on what we're going to get, right? You know, if you're going to buy cigarettes, you're going to end up buying cigarettes. You just have to be willing to come across and say, well, I may get cancer. And we all agree that, you know, cigarettes are bad. And if that's the case, you know, we shouldn't take them. That's true. We shouldn't use them. But something that's just as bad as cigarettes we take all the time. That's stress. Stress can cause cancer. There's all these different sweeteners that have been used that have been found to be carcinogens. There's other chemicals that we put in our system along with that. When we eat highly processed foods, they tend to have carcinogens in them because of the preservation methods, especially the cheap ones. So we're not going to outlaw food. You can't outlaw food. So what do we have to do? We have to make better choices. If you're going to prevent versus react, you have to make better choices right now, not in the future, not later. You make better choices now. That's how you prevent things from happening. So instead of saying, I'm going to smoke, you choose not to smoke. Therefore, you drastically decrease your incidence and probability of getting the incidence of getting lung cancer and its probability for you. You can also say, I'm not going to overeat, because obesity is a sickness. It is a problem. It is something that can be prevented, and it causes death. It causes hypertension, joint disease, high blood pressure. It causes those things. It's linked to diabetes. You don't have diabetes and then get fat. You get fat, your body can't process the insulin properly, and then you get diabetes. That's most of the time how it works. Those are preventable diseases, and better choices now mean better outcomes in the future. You can literally address the different things in your life and slowly curve your way towards health without having to do a whole bunch of crazy things. You can, let's take genetics for a second. People are genetically disposed to certain things. That's something that we understand. That is something that needs addressed when we're talking about preventative medicine versus reactive medicine. Preventative medicine, when it looks at your genes, well, let's do reactive medicine first. Reactive medicine, when it looks at your genes, it will say, well, you have a predisposition for, let's use diabetes again. You have a predisposition for diabetes. So why don't we go ahead and say, we're going to say you're probably going to get diabetes. There's nothing you can really do about it, and just expect to have it come up. I mean, that's a reactive mindset. You'll deal with it when it happens. It's just going to happen, so don't even worry about it. That's not something that's true. Your genetics are what you're born with. You know, you're born a boy, you've got a history, you're born male, you've got a history of this or that in your family, and you say, okay, that's probably what I'm going to have. You got diabetes or Alzheimer's or things like that. It's probably what I'm going to have. I'm going to have that. Probably going to happen. My mom's got it. My dad's got it. Their mom and dad had it. So I'm just going to have it. You just expect it. Well, the problem is your genetics are only what you're predisposed to. They're just what you're born with. You're born a male who expects to have diabetes by the time he's 30 because his parents did. You know, I mean, if you took that demographic data, you would have a fairly accurate thing if you didn't do anything about it. I think that's the big thing people miss. They'll see their family history and they'll see their genetics and they'll be like, well, that's what's going to happen to me. But that's not. You choose if that's going to happen to you or not. And the difference, if someone looks at it from a proactive, a preventative idea, they're going to say, you know, my parents, you know, I'm born a male, which has a certain incidence of a higher or lower incidence of this or that. My family has diabetes in our example. They all got it when they were about 30, and, you know, I'm probably going to have that. Well, by the time you get to that, I'm probably going to have that. If you're looking at it in a preventative way, you're not going to say, I'm probably going to have that. You're going to say, instead, what can I do about that? You can do things about that. Your health is directly influenced by you. Your genetics, your genes, aren't on all the time. Your genes turn on and off. Your DNA turns your genes, through its programming, on and off. based upon how much you're doing one thing over another. So if you eat the same diet as your parents did, you're likely to get diabetes because it's likely a diet that's causing the problem, because diabetes is caused a lot by diet. It's highly influenced by diet. You see the mindset there. You see the difference there. So you have a preventative mindset of saying, well, I'm a boy, and I've got diabetes in my family, and they usually get it by 30. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not eat the same way that they did. I'm going to cut down on those refined sugars and eat less of those hard to digest carbohydrates. I'm going to eat more vegetables and fruits instead. And you start to address that in your system. Well, what that does, when you make that change in your system, your genetics will start to turn on and off accordingly. Your genes turn on and off accordingly. If you start to eat more of the fruits and vegetables and less of the refined things that they were eating, then all of a sudden your body's like, well, I don't need to run this program anymore, this set of things in the genetics that I was running before, because he's not following that same pattern. I need to adjust. So it adjusts your genetics accordingly. And all of a sudden, by the time you hit 30, you end up not having it. Not because your parents' genetics magically changed, but because you, through your choices, changed how your genes were behaving. That's how effective you can be. Environment affects your genes. Everybody has, it's kind of like the nature versus nurture. You are born with a certain nature, you're born with a set of programs going on in your system. Your genes are turning on and off in certain ways. But your nurture of your system tells your genes which ones to turn on and off. So in this idea, when it comes to your health, your nurturing of your health is more important than the nature that you were born with. Your nurture, in this example, is more influential on your total life expectancy and reaching of your genetic potential than your basic genetics are, than your basic nature is. Because your body will respond to you and what you're doing to it. If you don't think so, why do you get a crick in your neck when you sleep funny? Now, I could go into that and tell you why, but I think you get the basic point I'm getting across here. It's because you affected your body by your environment, by what you were doing. You slept crooked. Our simple answer would be you slept crooked, and now you got a crick in your neck. It's not that complicated or hard, and it extends to the rest of your genetics, to the rest of your system. So that idea that you're locked into your genetics locks you into a reactionary mode. A reactive health plan doesn't help you be healthy. It simply helps you maintain some kind of status quo. Being healthy isn't just about maintaining a status quo. It's about maintaining a healthy status quo. If your status quo is that you're going to have diabetes by the time you're 30, in our example, then you don't want to maintain that status quo, right? You want to instead change your status quo to a healthier one. Change your modus operandi so that you will get better results than your parents have, or that your genetics dispose you to. That's the reason and idea for having a more proactive and preventative mindset to health. So we don't have any questions that popped up, so I think we will say that we have discussed this further and enough. If there's any other questions that you'd like to have answered next time, just let me know. You can either post a comment down below of this video or message us, and that should be everything. I hope this has helped you. Again, welcome any questions, comments, or observations. As always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy.